The base has dropped on what could be one of the craziest days in Major League Soccer history. It's going to be one of those kind of things. We talked about it yesterday, that this was a new era with Miguel Almiron going to Newcastle. None of us expected the news to hit last night that did, and is still ongoing. And we'll be talking about all that today as things happen, as the European window closes for this current transfer season, but there's still going to be more drama after today. Today just could see a lot of moves happen and a lot of ideas of moves of incoming players to Major League Soccer not happen. We'll get into all that as we go. SDH is live January 31st. It's Thursday Thoughts. We're going to have a lot of thoughts. Please share your thoughts with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. We will get to them as best we can. But there's going to be lots of stuff today. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. Felipe Cardenas joins us at 9:30. And we'll talk a lot of Miguel Almiron because it is expected that we will be getting an announcement from Newcastle United any minute now. He's at the facility. They've made another announcement already today, and you would expect that they're clearing the decks, John, for the big announcement to break the club transfer record in Miguel Almiron.
Yep, and once again, for the second day in a row, I am monitoring Sky Sports News, and there are cameras outside Newcastle where we have actually seen Miguel Almiron walking from a car with either shaving kit or boots or both, because it was two containers that looked amazingly similar. He was walking from a car, walking indoors. So
I don't know if either one of those would have been it, but maybe. I mean, I would assume he probably shaved before he left, and I don't think he's training. Well, maybe. I don't know what their training schedule is. I would assume they probably trained this morning. So this morning their time, by the way.
Yes, morning their time. So subtract 5 or add 5. If you're going that way, add 5 to what time it is. And we are now under 9 hours left in the transfer madness. But yes, Miguel Almiron has been seen walking into the Newcastle facility.
Yes, and to catch you up on everything that went crazy last night around the league, at about 10:22, it was officially announced by Toronto FC that Sebastian Giovinco was being sold. No surprise, if you've been listening to the show, it's Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, and the number was reportedly between $2 and $3 million. People wondered, one, why it was so little, and we've talked about this whole process as Giovinco is either held out of training on his own, his agent held him out, maybe Al Hilal held him out. We don't know. The whole thing's been very awkward from a Toronto perspective and from a Giovinco perspective. Bill Manning was on radio yesterday morning in Toronto on TSN talking about making Giovinco an offer that would have been in the top 6 or 7 in salary in MLS. You're talking about a $5 million plus offer. Now, other reporters have come out since to say that's not true. All we can go by is what the club president says publicly. So maybe it was more like a 3, 4, 3.5, somewhere in that ballpark. Any which way, that was just the precursor. Overnight, Giovinco posted a statement on his Instagram. He did not hold back at all. He did not take it easy on Toronto FC. I don't even know what to compare this to. So a couple of the highlights from it. He said, "It's without hesitation that I can say that I wanted it to end differently. As I've always maintained, I was hoping to renew my contract and finish my playing career in a city that feels like home. It is here where my daughter was born and where my son took his first steps on a football pitch." He said, "Unfortunately, this desire of ours has clashed with a change in direction with current TFC management. For the 2 years, I've been seeking to extend my contract, however, management was reluctant. Recently, after refusing to exercise the club option for 2020, I was offered terms that I deemed unacceptable. They may say I left for a more lucrative deal, but this is not the case. Their offer and lack of transparency is a clear message. It seems management prefers to focus on things other than the pure desire to win. Remember what Gregory Vanderfield said. That sounds really similar. Giovinco went on to say, after having grown the brand and elevating the overall reputation of TFC both at home and abroad, it seems I no longer serve a purpose. I would have accepted less to stay in Toronto. Therefore, I reluctantly announce that my tenure as a TFC player has come to an end. I will now focus my attention and efforts towards another challenge. With me, I bring beautiful memories. Toronto, the Six, you are and will always remain in my heart. That's rough. And we've talked a lot about this era of MLS and these types of moves and how big they are and how important it is to do them correctly. So this move now has damaged Toronto's reputation. I don't know what would have made it worth that. Did the 3 trophies in 2017 make it worth that? Hopefully. But you also could have handled this so differently and had it end in such a different way and still cut your payroll if that was your ultimate goal. This is damage to Toronto.
And if you think about, you go back to Vanderbilt, you go back to the comments of Josie Altidore, this paragraph of a flamethrower that Giovinco has put in there. And you shake your head. I mean, my eyes just got really wide, and you're sitting there, you're going, I mean, for lack of a better word, damn, with what has been going on over the last couple of weeks. And I'm sitting here going, Toronto seems rudderless right now. And there's a time when you're at a loss for words and trying to figure something out, and this is one of those times where a team that has been so successful over the last handful of years, bringing in trophies, bringing in championships, and now you have instances on the training ground. Players are now being sent away. Players are now leaving. There are 2 other big names that are there. What's their future? I'm not all that optimistic, but it's a mess, for a lack of a better word, right now.
We'll get into more of this as we go, for sure, because there's going to be a lot to talk about when it comes to Sebastian Giovinco. The other big news that hit last night, I was almost afraid to go to sleep because I didn't know what was going to happen if I did.
I know.
DC United, Stephen Goff, out of nowhere, reported that Luciano Acosta has flown to Europe last night as late interest in a transfer has come from PSG. Manchester City was also reportedly in this conversation. I don't know how he gets a work permit if it was England, so I don't think there's much to that. But PSG could be $10 million plus. Pablo Maurer had already reported on The Athletic a little bit earlier in the evening that DC United had turned down a $6 million plus offer from a Saudi Arabian club. Little more this morning from Jonathan Johnson of ESPN. Johnson's reporting that Acosta is PSG bound, a source has confirmed to ESPN FC, after coach Thomas Tuchel demanded attacking reinforcement to cover Neymar's absence. Let's take a second and take that statement. What you are seeing now is a Major League Soccer best 11 player being brought in as a reinforcement for an injury to Neymar. This is the step that the league is starting to take. And I thought Taylor Twellman had a good point last night, John, when it started to break. At this stage of where MLS is, and honestly, I think at this stage where most teams around the league are, there's a small select few that don't have to think this way. But you have to be positioned to take these types of offers when they come. $10 million plus for Luciano Acosta. You take it and you run. You hope that you have a plan to deal, or you can quickly come up with a plan to deal.
Right.
Because you're going to have to. But $10 million for this player at this time, you have to take that. and you have to be ready to deal with the consequences of it. That's where MLS is right now, because it's not a league that people in powerful positions are going to say, oh, well, he's from MLS, I'm not even going to talk about him. Thomas Tuchel is demanding attacking reinforcement. Luciano Acosta is who is brought to him. They are going to sign him, according to ESPN FC. That's a big statement for MLS. MLS clubs have to be ready to deal with these things as they come.
Now, let's go back to the sentence that you started the PSG discussion with. Luciano Acosta was demanded to be reinforcements for whom?
Neymar.
Yes. To have Atlanta United, to have DC United, to have Toronto FC for an entirely different reason, but to have...
leave that one out for now, because that's a different situation.
All right, so having 2 star players from MLS being sought after by one of the top clubs in Europe. I mean,
2 of the top 20 clubs. 2 of the top 20 clubs in Europe in terms of revenue.
Right.
Because Newcastle's in that conversation too.
Yes.
2 MLS Best 11 players going to 2 of Europe's top 20 clubs in the same window for a combined $37 million.
Right. And to have these leagues seek you out right now, this is one of those moments where MLS on the whole sits there and says, okay, we're now the desired for our developing talent and for our developed talent, not just a desired place for our 30-plussers who want to pick up a paycheck. This is a different day for MLS, and it is now up to the franchises in the league to continue this approach that they've had. Look at the teams that are being sought after and go, hey, we ought to be able to get in on that too. We should be able to take the steps necessary to be a part of this discussion, and we should take the steps necessary to be a part of this discussion to be a worldwide player in the sport. This is one of those days, and it's really been like, the last 12 hours or so. The last 12 hours have been a whirlwind for a couple of different reasons, all of them good, and now it's up to the teams that are being the sought-after teams for players. I was about to say the hunted, but that's not necessarily a good analogy. People are ringing you up. Now it's up to you to sit there and take the investment that these teams are looking after. How do you reinvest? That, to me, is the question that I have going forward. What's your plan?
I'm going to back
Folks are coming after you.
One step from what you just said. It's
Sure.
not merely up to take the investment. It's up to each MLS team to make the decision on, is this the right amount of money for this player at this time? Do I have a plan to replace this player? That's the next step, where you go from being a good club in a good league to a smart business. Because, yeah, it's easy just to take the money. But now you're Toronto, again, it's a different situation, but Toronto now has a lot of work to do with its fan base. They got a little bit of money, but they have a lot of work to do to rebuild a relationship with their fan base because of this, how this has been handled. DC has come into this point of the season in preseason, and I would say they are the number 2 or number 3 team in the Eastern Conference. If they sell Luciano Acosta, they're not that on paper. Now, what do you do with that revenue to stay at that point or to even improve? That's the question, and you got to have a plan. When you take it, you can't just go willy-nilly and say, oh, it's a great offer. Yeah, done, let's go. You have to take that second and pause and think, okay, it's $10 million. It's a big deal. Are we going to get more for him later? Probably not in this case. Okay. What's the value to us? He's going to PSG. That's huge. Okay. A lot of good things from this. You always have to ask, can we replace him? What can we replace him with right now? What can we easily replace him with in the market? And I think D.C. then has a very easy decision. I think they do what they got to do to get the deal done with Yamil Assad. You bring him back, and you go into a lineup in 2019 with Wayne Rooney up top, with probably Lucas Rodriguez as the 10 where Acosta would have been, Assad on one side and Stieber on the other. That's still a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. So you've brought in money. You're not going to have to spend a ton to go get the deal done with Assad. And you're still going to be good. And you're going to have more money to reinvest. Smart deal all the way around. But Stephen Goff has an update just posted at Soccer Insider. Definitely a follow for today. Acosta has arrived in Paris for a physical that would be accepted by any European club that wants to buy him. Any report that says a deal has already been consummated is incorrect. Long day ahead. We've had this stuff from multiple different reporters over lots of different deals right now of it's done, no, it's not done, no, I think it's done, no, I'm saying it's not done. This is going to be a big day to see whose sources are correct on a lot of different fronts. So buckle up, go put on an extra pot of coffee, go down and grab an extra energy drink or whatever caffeine you need to get in your system. We're going to take a quick break. We've got Felipe Cardenas joining us at 9:30. Those are the big 3 stories of the day. Miguel Almiron's announcement in England. Luciano Acosta, where does he go? And Sebastian Giovinco has now officially signed with Al Hilal, $2 or $3 million to Toronto, and a lot of collateral damage. We'll talk about all that as we go this morning. Share your Thursday thoughts with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, and we'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. A busy morning show. We'll be back in the afternoon as well in a Soccer Over There, Soccer Down Here crossover extravaganza of madness because it's the transfer deadline day in Europe. That's what's crazy about it. Is this feels like MLS's first big transfer day. It's not even MLS's transfer day. It's not even South America's transfer day.
It's World Transfer Day.
But it's not. It's the major European leagues transfer day. That's all it is. Portugal's still going to have an open window. Argentina's still going to have an open window. Brazil's still going to have an open window. MLS is still going to have an open window.
You've got a transfer window, and you've got a transfer window.
No. Everybody has transfer windows. We know that. The thing is, today, this is crazy for MLS because you have 3 players in the last, or in about a 24-hour time frame, roughly, who are going to be leaving the league in very different ways. So Lee Ryder has now reported that Miguel Almiron will be unveiled by Newcastle United at 9:30 our time in 10 minutes. So John will be gathering audio from that if it's on Sky Sports, if he can. We're going to try. We'll see what clips we can grab. Felipe Cardenas will be joining us at 9:30, so we'll talk a lot about Miguel's legacy and what this move means for the league and for Atlanta United. The clip we have from Lee Ryder, this is from yesterday. Is that correct?
This morning.
This is from this morning. So this is a little bit earlier today. This is Lee Ryder. Which outlet was this with? Sky?
This is Chronicle. This is him giving an update from earlier this morning outside the training facility.
So his own video he posted at the Chronicle. Okay. Lee Ryder from the Chronicle, update from the training facility earlier this morning.
So Miguel Almiron has arrived at the training ground this morning on deadline day, looking to complete his deal. That should go through this afternoon. That'll probably be, the time will coincide with the US side of things. Obviously Atlanta United keen to give him a good farewell after great service for the MLS club. This morning the team are training. Maybe he'll take in a little bit of training as well. Steve Nixon, the head of recruitment, has been here also. He went out there in November to speak to Atlanta United to get this deal underway. It's now been completed pretty much, subject to the announcement, of course, which Newcastle will make later this afternoon. Obviously Antonio Barreca is also here as well. He should tie up his loan deal very soon. And Newcastle maybe might sign another couple of players as well on loan. Obviously the Samaras deal seems to have hit a little bit of trouble as we speak, but we'll see what happens going this afternoon. The main thing for Newcastle is their record-breaking sign. Almiron is here, he's smiling, and he's absolutely delighted to be a Newcastle United player.
Almiron is smiling is the least shocking news of the day. First off, no surprise there. We expect that Lee will get the pronunciation down a little bit closer here soon. Don't know why he went French. I don't know why the Paraguayan
he's not
is going
the only
French.
one, though.
No, it's true. That's been really interesting with the our friends in the English media opting for a French pronunciation of Miguel Almiron. Very
and
odd.
Miguel Almiron.
It's French. It's going with the whole French pronunciation. I don't know where that's coming from, but
Adam's family.
And maybe the flag is turned the other way and they think it's a French flag. I don't know. I got nothing. We'll see. I'm sure that will improve. It's going to be interesting to see how quick he gets into the team. And that's maybe the big question I have at this stage is you've got a match with Tottenham this weekend. Probably wouldn't expect him to go straight into the starting lineup, but Newcastle's played a lot of games here lately. They've had those cup games in the middle of the week over the last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
And they had the midweek match in league this week. So you've played 6 games in the last 3 weeks. That's a lot. I don't know what their squad rotations look like, but getting some fresh legs.
Not a whole lot.
No. And if he's ready to go, and he's been training, and he didn't have a long time off, if he's ready to step out and give you 45 or 60 minutes, you could see Miguel Almiron this weekend. It wouldn't shock me if he was in the team.
No, it wouldn't shock me either. And that's what I'm going to be looking at in all of this is, all right, does he get a run out against Tottenham this weekend, even if it's 10 or 15? What are they looking at when it comes to his level of fitness? And with the schedule compression that they had over the holiday, plus FA Cup, plus all the other cups, there's like 98 cup tournaments that you play in England in any given year. But and with there really hasn't been a whole lot of folks that Rafa Benitez seems to have trusted coming off the bench. I mean, it seems to be an 11 that is sound defensively. I think they're like 4th or 5th when it comes to goals allowed in the Prem. They're just like second to last when it comes to goals scored. And, you keep trotting the same guys out there to help defensively, and you try to grind out a 1-0 or a 2-1, something like that. But no, this is I want to see how Miguel is trotted out there, and I want to see what it's looking like.
So before you get on press conference duty and before Felipe Cardenas joins us, what was your scouting report on Santiago Muñoz?
He got too many chances. It's like, it just, dude, tell people that you got asthma.
He's a talented kid, John. You have to keep giving those talented kids chances because he's special.
Well, and then our boy Harris finally got it at the end of the flick. That it's like, dude, how old are you? 28. Shouldn't you be more of an example? And then the light finally comes on for the guy, and we got to work on Santiago's pronunciation of Fulham. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But yes, Anna Friel, Anna Friel definitely gets check plus from me.
I would agree. It's a good fun movie.
But,
it's not a great. It's not a great movie.
It's mindless.
It's a good bad movie. Would be how I would put it. It's one of those.
Yeah, it's not No Retreat, No Surrender. Which was just bloody awful. But you see Muñoz kind of come of age, and Martin Tyler was Martin Tyler. He did a great job of Martin Tyler.
That would make sense.
And so, that was another question that we got the other day. The microphones that play-by-play use overseas.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to ask about those particular microphones and why they are
You would
constructed
probably know
the
more
way
than me because I have no idea.
Basically, what you're doing is you're talking into there are two kinds of microphones, basically, a unidirectional and an omnidirectional. Mm-hmm. An omnidirectional microphone, you put it down, it picks up all the noise from everywhere. Unidirectional microphone, pointed at a source, it picks up that one sound that's going into the microphone. And that cap that's on top of the microphone itself, it sits there and it lets you basically rest it on top of your mouth. You don't overmodulate, and it turns that one direction of sound even more focused, and it knocks out all of the surrounding noise that could possibly creep into the microphone. So that's what that is. It's an omnidirectional microphone that has a cap on it just to cut out as much surround sound as possible.
Okay.
So that's what that's about.
All right. Yeah, I have no clue on my end. I just talk into the thing. I'm not the technical guy at all.
See, now, if in your headset, when you and I wear headset microphones,
mm-hmm.
there is that opportunity for surrounding natural sound to get into the microphone. So people are still hearing crowd noise occasionally, and it's still being filtered through that mouthpiece. When you have that unidirectional handheld talker with the cap on it, it eliminates that much more. So it's basically there. So all the noise is coming from your mouth as opposed to the guy next to you, press row, fans behind you. It eliminates as much surrounding noise as possible. So that's what that's about.
Got it. All right. Okay, well, let's see what kind of noises we get out of the microphones in Newcastle if this presser is about to happen. We'll have to see if that's going to go down. It has not been announced by the club yet, and it's not on Newcastle's website yet. This is what Lee Ryder from the Chronicle reported a little bit ago. It's one of those days. There's going to be reporting and then walking back and then new reporting and then rumor and then innuendo and then who knows what. It's, again, buckle up. That's all I got. So we'll see what happens. We're going to have Felipe Cardenas join us in our next segment, though. We know that's happening, and we're going to talk Miguel. We're going to talk MLS reputation and what this new era of MLS could mean. We're going to get into all that with Felipe from The Athletic after this. Stay with us.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Newcastle United just tweeted, "We are delighted to announce the signing of forward Miguel Almiron from Atlanta United. The 24-year-old has penned a 5.5-year deal, which will keep him at St. James's Park until June 2024. Felipe Cardenas, what do you think about all this?
It's finally done. Listen, a lot of us, and I'm totally not like patting myself on the back, but I just stood strong. And anytime I was asked, whether it's in the comment section of The Athletic or on Twitter or on this show, I just kept thinking it's gonna come down to the last wire. It could be the last day. It's gonna be down to the wire, last day, and it was. That's how it materialized. It's now official, and it's great news. It's great news for, first of all, for Miguel Almiron. He wanted this. Probably since the day he, can remember walking and playing soccer as a child. It became a career goal, probably once he started playing in Argentina, and it became public while he was at Lanús. So he's had this as a career objective for several seasons now, and now he will, he's officially the first number 10 that Atlanta United has ever announced. He will be, he'll carry that with him until he's not playing anymore, and he becomes now this, this MLS 3.0 case study to, and not just about style of play, but how big clubs, big ambitious clubs like Atlanta United can really sell a player with that type of potential to come to MLS, get better, and eventually get to Europe.
So Atlanta United has also announced it, and in their announcement, it's an undisclosed fee that breaks the league's all-time record. The quote about that part from Darren Eales: "This is also a landmark day for Atlanta United. We not only shattered the league transfer record, but gave proof of concept for our original club model of signing top young players and giving them a chance to thrive and develop." On the other side, Miguel Almiron's quotes in the Newcastle release, and I think this is one a lot of people probably were waiting to see. He will wear number 24 for Newcastle. His quote: "I'm very happy and eager to start and to meet my new teammates. The league is very competitive. This is a historic club, and Rafa Benitez himself were the main reasons why I am here now. I think it's a great responsibility, something beautiful for me, and I will try to offer the best I can to repay the trust the club put in me." How big of a part of this do you think Rafa Benitez was for Miguel?
Well, I mean, if the reports from this past week are true, and Rafa Benitez, truly gave the board and his bosses an ultimatum, He wanted the signing. He wanted Miguel Almiron. He just essentially wants the club to sign players to give him help. But, I think a manager like Rafa Benitez, going beyond the obvious advantage of that he speaks Spanish and there will be no communication problems with a player like Almiron. I think it just, again, it shows that the magnitude of the signing. We can holler back to the pundits that didn't know, that claimed to not know who Miguel was. Even I had reporters from Sky and BBC DMing me casually and cordially about Miguel and asking, how good is he and how good is MLS? I will continue to proudly wave the perception flag for MLS because it has to change, and it is changing. But it's the league is not there yet, and this is once again taking us back to that place where the stigma is still there. Yet, if you continue to be blinded by that, you will miss this opportunity to see a player that now represents, the league in a new way. And you have a manager like Rafa Benitez that has won everything. Not everything, but he's won Champions League title with Liverpool. He's been, at that coaching at the highest levels, and he essentially put his foot down and said, "That's the player that I want." And so it's big news. It's huge news, and for a guy like Miguel to go and play under Rafa Benitez, who is highly esteemed, in the profession, I think it'll be great for him.
So let's talk a little bit about what this means for the league, because the perception part came up in your last response, and this is a big thing going on right now because you have potentially Luciano Acosta to PSG before the day is over. You have Sebastian Giovinco leaving the league, not in a great way, from Toronto. Mm-hmm. You have more clubs interested in what's happening here now, but there is still a lot of unknown from pundits, from clubs, from experts around the world. Where do you think MLS is in this right now? And do you think by the end of this window, MLS is in a different place?
Yes, absolutely. I do. I think they're in a different place and they're in a better place. But again, it's a very subjective place as well. So that's something that we can't, those that cover the league and know the players and know what happens within, the walls of these clubs and what they're trying to achieve. We will continue to have to report on that. And I mean, for us that cover Atlanta United, we're kind of in a privileged place. We're covering a team that really wants to change the perception that essentially was built to do it. There are other leagues and other teams in MLS that need to do a lot more, and you can view the teams that are and the ownership groups that don't want to spend as individuals and clubs that are holding this league back. And so teams around the world in Europe and journalists that now they're seeing that there are clubs, there are players that are worth millions, that are commanding, transfer fees that are newsworthy, that are worthy of being tweeted and reported on deadline day. So that is obviously going to help. And Miguel Almiron won't be the last player that gets, acquired by a big European club for a big transfer fee, and that journalists in that country or in Europe ask, who is this guy? It's going to continue to happen. I'm sure there are journalists in Paris right now wondering who Luciano Acosta is, and scrambling to find footage of him, and why he's even being considered by the biggest club.
I hope they don't
France.
say, though, that I don't know who this guy is, so this isn't a big deal. That's the part that I had a problem with.
No, of course. I mean, Danny Mills, listen, it was a foot in the mouth moment for him, and he won't live it down for a while. But for those that know and those that do the research, do the work, appreciate the talent that is coming through this league. We know that he's in the minority, but at the same time, it is kind of like, well, yeah, there are still people even in a profession like journalism, if you can, I'm doing air quotes when I refer to journalism and Danny Mills, but he will have to learn from this, and hopefully a performance. Now we can look at the performances, look ahead to Miguel's performances, in the Premier League with Newcastle as a way to, change minds.
It's just such a fascinating time when all the news started really breaking last night and the Giovinco stuff was coming to a head, and this has been going on for a while. We've heard some things behind the scenes about Toronto really being in flux and seeing how this has played out. It's been a little ugly. I thought Charlie Boehm had a really interesting tweet last night, and I wanted to get your take on it. Charlie Boehm, MLSsoccer.com, Soccer Wire, talking about, I think this was directly related to the Acosta rumors that were breaking, and just, clubs making money, and, a fan saying that this is an instability I can work with. Charlie said this: layers of repercussions, though. The limits on spending already forced successful MLS teams to plan scouting, signings, and other personnel decisions painstakingly, multiple transfer windows in advance. Now some whale could roll up on deadline day and crater your year's plan with one phone call. I didn't take that as a bad thing, because that's kind of how most clubs around the world operate. If you are really any club outside of the big 10, 12 in the world, you're always one phone call away from a huge influx of cash, but also then that, trying to figure out how you replace that player. I think this is just MLS growing up. I agree, and I love Charlie. He's a great guy, a great reporter, great journalist. I had a chance to have drinks with him and dinner with him during MLS Cup. Yeah, Charlie's one of the best. He's one of the best. He's a great guy, and that is a great point of view that he gave, because it is a reality. But I agree with you, Jason. I think that is also a welcome to the world transfer market moment for Major League Soccer, and it really depends on what side of the fence you are on. In that, is that something that you view that, does that need to be controlled? Do teams need to be better prepared? Should that be allowed? And we know that in Major League Soccer, the rules are so unique, so distinct to this league. The CBA is so important in order to be able to change certain rules and regulations to make the league a bit more, aligned with world football. But to your point, that's something that big clubs do all the time. Look at, I believe it was last season when Malcolm was all but due to, raise the Roma shirt, and Barcelona swooped in essentially on the last day, or, I think they canceled a fax or they sent a plane. It was just like, things that happened, and swooped in and took a player right under Roma's nose. And it was such a bad moment for Roma. That Monchi at the time, he went on social media. They filmed him giving a statement and kind of giving his side of the story, and how, implying that it was somewhat unethical by Barcelona to do that. But, that's the way the game is played. And Barcelona is a club. I'll use them as an example, because most recently when they signed, De Jong from Ajax, they showed, I read this, in Marca in Spain, that they showed De Jong text messages from Neymar, that he's sent to players and board members at Barcelona begging to come back. and so the rival, Barcelona has a rivalry with Real Madrid. That's going to happen. That's going to continue till the end of time. But they have a transfer market rivalry with PSG. And De Jong was all but set to go to PSG, and Barcelona director said, "Hey, what if we show these private tweets from Neymar to get this guy to sign for us?" And they did it. So, welcome to the big time. MLS. This is what's going to continue to happen. And even in the MLS structure, which I totally agree with Charlie, I think one thing he's hinting at here is that it needs to open up a little bit, and I'm totally there. I think it can open up without being reckless, for sure. Right. But even in that structure, and this was such a huge point of contention for a lot of people, Atlanta United went out and got Pity Martinez. I believe he said recently that the deal was done early December. They went out and got him knowing that you couldn't guarantee Miguel Almiron was going to be sold. You were going to have to figure that out. That was the plan. That was what you wanted to do, but you can't guarantee a sale. So you were proactive, carried 4 designated players, knew that you would figure it out if you had to, and being able to make this sale, you prepared for it. Now, sometimes that whale will roll up, and you have to be ready for chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can also prepare better in this league. And I don't think it's fair to blame the structure of the league for some teams just honestly not preparing for these situations. I think DC has an out. I think you go get Yamil Assad and you finalize that deal, and there you go. You're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't point the finger at the league structure and blame it entirely, because there are teams that, despite the league structure, like Atlanta United, are making big moves and spending money and getting the players that they want. And to your point, really being very shrewd in the negotiation process and taking risks. I mean, it was a big risk to essentially have PT on the books maybe and a guaranteed move and an agreement, a gentleman's agreement, whatever you may call it, with River Plate that he's coming to Atlanta when you hadn't finalized the deal for Almiron. But I think we all know now that Newcastle United was very much interested in this move for Almiron. Like any negotiation process, they were happy to drag it out. But they had people here as late as November, and I don't think they were here to scout Miguel. I think they were talking transfer fees and agreements, and so Atlanta United and Darren Eales, he looking back, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even just 24 hours from now, you can say, well, he stuck to a plan. He had a number, and whether or not he landed on that number, he pinpointed it and he got exactly what he wanted. He was very close, and it shows that you put yourself in his shoes. It's a difficult position to be in, because these are huge deals. But he knows, he knew how significant this type of move would be for the future of not only his club, but for the league and for players, young players like Miguel that come into this league and want to be great and want to be the best player in Major League Soccer, and giving them the platform that they deserve and the valuation that they deserve down the road.
As we wrap up with Felipe Cardenas of The Athletic, let's finish with this, Felipe. What do you think Miguel's lasting legacy is going to be here in Atlanta?
Despite having a player that's still here and that will still play here for the next 4, possibly 5 seasons in Joseph Martinez, a record breaker, a great player, a great goal scorer, possibly the best goal scorer that this league has seen. And I think Miguel Almiron will be the best player that Atlanta United has ever produced. And that might be a sentimental pick, okay, because we haven't seen what Pity Martinez is going to do in a game situation. We haven't seen what he can possibly do in a 34-game regular season and several other competitions. We know how good he is, but he still has to play in Major League Soccer. Miguel, I just think he assumed, he really took on that responsibility of being the face of a franchise, the first number 10, and he performed at a high level in any time he was on the field. And when he wasn't on the field, the team, the fans, the match, you could feel it. There was something missing. So I think he will go down as one of the most talented and revered players that this team and that this city, as far as an athlete goes, has ever produced, if you can put it that way. And as far as his move to Newcastle United, I'm reminded of when I was a sprightly teenager at the age of 18 and 19, and one of my idols, Faustino Asprilla, moved to Newcastle from Parma. Mm-hmm. And so Asprilla, a big-time striker from Colombia, did well in Serie A. Like he made the move to Newcastle when Newcastle was actually fighting for the league. They were slightly ahead of Manchester United at the time. It was 96. And he came in, and Kevin Keegan wanted him. Pulled a Rafa Benitez, said he's the guy that's going to help us win the league, and they lost the league. They lost it to Manchester United down the stretch, and he was slightly scapegoated. And so I bring this up because Almiron, he can have a statue. We talk about Joseph's statue. Maybe he'll have a statue first in Atlanta, and he can come to this town and he'll never have to buy a drink in his life if he's ever in Atlanta or in the Southeast. But at Newcastle now, he has huge shoes to fill, huge expectations for a club that is fighting relegation, and whose supporters and detractors will see him as, okay, let's see what you can do. Let's see if you can get us out of this hole. I have no doubt that he's going to perform at a high level and surprise a lot of people in Europe.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And that, again, even if he does, that doesn't necessarily guarantee things go well for Newcastle. There's, 10 other players on the field, and we saw what happened with him that time. I mean, Asprilla came in and didn't play badly at all. It just maybe wasn't the signing they really needed at that point. So it wasn't him. It was Newcastle as a whole. I think what Miguel has the opportunity to do here is something we've talked about a lot when it comes to Newcastle. They kind of feel like a sleeping giant. Mm-hmm. They should be a bigger club than they are, and for whatever reason they haven't been. This could be a step towards that. Now, I think probably a sale of the club and new ownership and new direction is needed as well, but this is a bold statement for Newcastle to put a lot of faith and a lot of trust in Miguel Almiron from Atlanta United.
Absolutely, and quickly, we talking about a sleeping giant. Like, don't sleep on Miguel either. I think a lot of a lot of defenders in MLS did, and not because in a cocky or arrogant way. He was just an unknown player for a lot of people in this league, and especially for defenders. And I think he's going to have that opportunity again to be someone that's you're not really sure how good he is, how fast he is, what he can do. As a defender, do I come close? Do I give him space? Can he play with his back to goal? Like, what is he good at? Like, we all know what he's good at. He knows what he can do really well. And now Newcastle has this gem, this new weapon that they can really unleash on the Premier League in a way that they haven't been able to for several seasons. We know that their goal scoring is down. They need more production. I think if they expect Miguel to just automatically be their leading goal scorer, they're mistaken. But he can change a game. They don't have to change a system and change their formation or their philosophy if they need to. I think you guys have talked about this. If they need to bunker and counter, well, now they have a guy that can really make that effective. And all of a sudden, if you get results, you have teams that are more aware of Miguel. You might have more space to play. And with a manager like Rafa and some really good players, some quality technical young players on Newcastle, they can find themselves in a good spot as far as where they are in the table now. But it'll be great to see. It's been a long time since I have really tracked a team in the Premier League because I want to see one specific player. And I'll be one of those guys too that's waking up early to watch Newcastle and to see how Miguel performs. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. And I wish him the best.
Yeah, it's a fun time, and I think a lot of Atlanta fans will be watching this weekend to see if Miguel makes his debut against Tottenham. I think a lot of number 24 Newcastle jerseys are going to be sold in the state of Georgia over the next few days, and it's an exciting time. Felipe, thanks for the time this morning. We appreciate it. Let's talk next week as the transfer dust settles a little bit, and we'll see where things stand then.
All right, man. As always a pleasure, my friend. Take care.
Good times talking with you. We'll talk soon. Felipe Carr on Twitter, if you're not following him already. If you're not, you're definitely doing Twitter wrong. So make sure you hit that follow button. We're going to take a quick break, come back and reset for hour number 2. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Busy first hour. Atlanta United has officially transferred Miguel Almiron to Newcastle United of the Premier League. He'll be wearing number 24. We've got some audio from Sky Sports as it happened. We'll play that after the end of this first hour. It's hectic. It's only going to continue. We've got a little bit of reaction, too, from the pundits at the Sky Sports desk. I'm fascinated to hear what they have to say about this. Rafa Benitez made it clear in the press release. This was the player he wanted. This was the player that he's tracked for a long time. This is a player that he's got a lot of expectations for. And there is going to be pressure on Miguel Almiron in a new and different kind of way. I think he has the ability and the mentality to rise to the occasion. And I think he's honestly a perfect fit for the way Newcastle wants to play. They have to be a little defensive right now. They have to sit back a little bit more. They have to protect their spot in the Premier League. I think he's going to be one that gives them that weapon on the counter that they have not had. And if Miguel can form another fusion dynamic duo with Solomon Rondon, another Venezuelan forward, by the way, if he can form that connection, Newcastle could be in pretty good shape as the year finishes up. Let's take a break. Let's come back. We'll reset with hour number 2. We'll have that as it happened reporting from Sky Sports. Stay with us. We will be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2. The all caps tease on Twitter, I think, was accurate so far.
Yes.
60 minutes in. We still don't know where Luciano Acosta is going to end up. ESPN FC is reporting PSG. Stephen Goff said, not so fast, my friend, and we're waiting to see what could happen there. That could go down to the wire, which the wire is anywhere between 4 and 6, depending on the country, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 11 p.m. in every country on the European continent with the windows that close today. So you're going to have a little bit of variation. For France and for England, you're talking about 5 o'clock our time. Or is it 6 o'clock our time? Am I
6
doing
o'clock
that
our
correct?
time.
6 o'clock our time. So
For England.
France, I don't know all my time zones. There's a lot to handle today. It's one of those things. We're going to be on with Soccer Over There, Soccer Down Here, crossover extravaganza from 4 to 6. So we'll cover both sides of it.
Transfer special.
Yes, we'll hit all of it from then. All right. It's been officially announced by Newcastle United. Miguel Almiron is number 24 on the Magpie squad. Let's hear from Sky Sports News as it happened, as the announcement was being made. This was from outside the training facility. Is this correct, John?
Yeah, the Newcastle reporter was outside freezing, and this was how he presented the signing.
It certainly has, Pete. You probably remember that day very well. 14 years ago, Michael Owen signed for Newcastle United for $16.8 million. Well, today, Newcastle United have shattered that. They have, in the last couple of minutes, completed a deal for Miguel Almiron, the man that Rafa Benitez has wanted all January. That deal has finally crossed the line mid-afternoon. Almiron arrived in Newcastle on Tyneside on the banks of the river yesterday afternoon by helicopter. He had his first part of his medical yesterday. He was back here at the training ground this morning to meet Rafa Benitez, and he's been at the training ground behind me for the last few hours this morning, posing for photographs and just putting the finishing touches to that deal. Now, Newcastle United haven't disclosed the amount, but it's our understanding that it's a £21 million deal that sees Almiron arrive here from the MLS side, Atlanta United. PT signed a 5.5-year deal here, so Newcastle see him as the future of the club. It's interesting, in the statement, Newcastle, they say he has 13 caps for his country, Paraguay, netted 13 goals and made 13 assists last season to help Atlanta win the 2018 MLS Cup, and he's been named by a number of players in America as the best player in the MLS League. He's here now, of course, he's never played before in Europe, so that will be a challenge for him. But I suppose the weather temperature right now here is similar to back home. But he's a slight player. He's not that bulky, it must be said. But everyone says very quick, great left foot, and plays that number 10 role to good effect. So interesting to see if he will be in the squad for the weekend match against Tottenham Hotspur. But he's not long in the country. He's not long left the training ground, and that after finalising that £21 million record-breaking deal to sign for Newcastle United, as you say, that has stood for some 14 years.
It's a new record for Newcastle, and as was said there on Sky Sports, they said £21 million. That puts you to $27.5 million. A lot of speculation on this, and I'm seeing a lot of back and forth. I would have to disagree with Thomas Jawin that it's $20 million if they stay up. I don't think Atlanta agrees to that. I don't think there's any way they agree to that. I think it's 27-ish straight up. And are there other incentives in it that take it higher? Maybe, possibly. Maybe there is a little bit of a safety net if it goes down, but it's not $7 million. That would be a big difference. And I don't know why Atlanta would take that. There's been a lot of reaction to this deal saying that Atlanta had to do this, they had to do it, they didn't have a choice. They did have a choice. I will continue to argue that fact. They could have figured out something with Ezequiel Barco. Was it the first choice? No. Second choice? No. Third choice? No. but it was still an option, and it was still that leverage on the table. So Newcastle has now made the deal. It's done. Will he slot into the squad on Saturday against Tottenham? Wouldn't surprise me, just because of the fixture congestion they've had. Who were the pundits on the round table on Sky?
It was you'll hear the two anchors and Charlie Nicholas and then there's a fourth one, Phil, and I can't remember his last name, but Charlie Nicholas is the one that has the deepest accent of all four.
All right, here's another clip from Sky Sports after the Miguel Almiron transfer was announced.
Oh, there you go. Big day for Newcastle United. Phil, Charlie, 2005, Michael Owen was the record until today. £21 million, says Keith Downey. Phil, your thoughts on that?
Well, for a club like Newcastle to not sort of break that sort of 15 million or so for Michael Owen in all these years is quite astonishing. In realms of Premier League, even 21 million now for Almiron, it's not massive money. And in these last few years, as we've seen, the prices have been going up. But still, they've shattered it. And if it is the one that Rafa's wanted, it is a big deal. Maybe I'm calling the shots in these last couple of weeks. It's like that about his future. He's letting the media know, letting the fans know. And at least they've gone out and got the one that he wanted. Because too often than not, the ones that he has been allowed to bring in, loans, things like that, never really been the ones that he wanted. And he's dipping his toe in on the very last day. I know we're doing it again today, but at least it's given the Geordie fans something to wish, especially after beating Manchester City the other night.
It's a great point. I mean, as Rafa Benitez's time in Newcastle has shown, he really hasn't had a lot of opportunity to get a player that he has targeted and said, this is the guy I want. This is the guy that fits my system. This is the guy that I need to make this team better. He's had to deal with leftovers, with, well, we can't get you that, but we can get you this off the clearance rack. Or,
loan deals.
We can go borrow this guy because, we can't get you what you want. This is maybe the first time in his time at Newcastle that he has been able to target a player and get that player into the squad.
Yep.
Put some pressure on him, too. I mean, absolutely, because he's the one who fought for this. He's the one who said, look, I'm not coming back if you don't get this deal done. And they got it done. So now, Rafa Benitez has put a lot of trust in Miguel Almiron. Both of them, I think, have a lot of pressure on them to not just save Newcastle in terms of staying up. I think they're not in a great spot with that, but they're in a much better spot after beating Manchester City. I think this move has bigger goals in mind. I don't think it's just about staying up. I think this is a move that, we talked about it with Frank de Boer's time at Crystal Palace. They brought him in to get out of this spot, just trying to stay up. They brought him in to transform the club to where they could be a middle-of-the-table team and occasionally pop up higher. Newcastle should have even bigger aspirations than that, but this is the step to get to that, I think. Rafa has said that Miguel does that for them. I think Miguel has taken on that challenge, and this should get them into a very safe spot with the opportunity, when things come together, to challenge for European places.
Traditionally, in the Premier League, you're looking at three groups. You're looking at the Big Six. You're looking at 7 through 12 or 7 through 13, and then 14 through 20. And it's no different this year. We've seen what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been able to do and has rocketed Manchester United up the standings. I think, and you and I have had this discussion in the past, Newcastle can, if investment is allowed, and you're hoping that this is that first step in renewed investment, that they could be in that 7 to 12 every single season. Because right now you're looking for 40 points. And that's, if my math is right, 16 or 17 points in the remaining 15 matches, which seems fairly attainable to stay up. You stay up, and then you focus on, okay, what do we need to do to get past Crystal Palace, be competitive with Brighton and Bournemouth and West Ham and all of those folks, Wolves, who've done tremendously in their first year up under Nuno Espirito Santo. What are those pieces that we need so we can have more offense with Rondon, Perez, Almiron, and stay in 7-12 instead of just fighting to stay afloat and figure it out by the end of time that you're going to be 16th and you're up once again. So I'm hopeful that this is the first step for that, because you and I are fairly confident that Newcastle can be that 7-8 that can challenge for a Big Six spot if everything is orchestrated correctly.
I think Newcastle can be a Big Six club. I do. It's just it hasn't been run that way. So
no,
it's not going to happen overnight. It's not.
No.
They have to make some big decisions as they go. This is honestly not that different than MLS, and it's something that's come up from time to time. The sale price of Newcastle United, according to reports out there, not that different from the valuation of Atlanta United. It's part of that growing up process, and it's kind of crazy to say about a club like Newcastle that has such a rich history, but recently they've not been what they should be.
No,
you don't go from fighting relegation to winning titles overnight. There's steps to get there. This feels like a step. This feels like one of those to solidify things before the next jump in ambition. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing here. And I'd love to see Miguel Almiron be a big part of that. It's a big commitment they've made to him, long contract.
And you're also looking at the idea of what in the show from 4 to 6 tonight, we'll have Sky pundits discussing the idea of, okay, was this a one-off or is this a sea change? So we'll get into that too.
Yeah, it's funny to read some of the responses and people throwing things back at others saying, oh, Newcastle's never going to spend the money. They're not going to break the record for an MLS player. It's an MLS player. They're not going to sign him and all this type of stuff. In the least shocking, not news, but update ever, Pity Martinez Instagrammed a picture out of him and LaBonda, and he's got a number 10 training shirt on because that's what he was always going to wear. There was never a question about this.
Number 200.
Yes. As long as Miguel Almiron was on the roster, Pity was not going to be assigned a number. Now that the number 10 shirt is open, Pity Martinez is your number 10 for Atlanta United.
Now, is he PT or G Martinez? That's the next question.
Well, that's up to MLS and their rules, but we'll see what happens.
Well, but if Kaku gets Kaku, then PT should get PT, yeah?
I would agree, but I'm not going to get worked up about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's okay.
So it's just the semantics of the kit and what people will be purchasing in great numbers.
Yes, and that kit will be available here at some point, so relax. It'll be okay. It's going to happen, and he'll wear the number 10, and we'll see what's on the back of it. If it's Martinez, if it's G Martinez, if it's P Martinez, if it's Pity, we'll find out here soon enough. Okay, let's get caught up on everything else before we go to break here real quick. Toronto, I think we've pretty much covered everything when it comes to Giovinco. He ethered TFC on the way out the door. Oof. Vanderveer slightly ethered TFC. Giovinco absolutely lit the torch and burned it down.
Flamethrower.
Yeah, it's rough. We'll see how Toronto bounces back. Terrence Boyd will be joining the squad from the German second division, 27-year-old American forward. He's had a lot of injuries. He is not the replacement for Sebastian Giovinco, according to Christian Jack and Bill Manning in the Giovinco press release. They both said that TFC will be adding another designated player. Christian Jack said player would be in his prime and will be added within the next week. They also have a good bit of TAM to work with to add other players. This is the problem I have with this, and this is not new. Toronto is not the first MLS club to be in a situation. There's questions about Toronto and how much they want to spend. Okay, valid questions. That's fine. But leaving business until late. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes, as Charlie Boehm said, that whale will show up and you have to make a decision. DC United, that's completely fine. In this case, you knew you were not going to bring Sebastian Giovinco back. If you didn't know that and you just strung him along, because remember, this was early last season that stuff started coming out, that Giovinco wanted a new deal. Toronto didn't want to talk to him. Then late in the season, they said they weren't going to talk to players until after the season. Then you started training camp, and it seems like you hadn't had conversations. Manning just said that they've started it with Altidore. They haven't even talked to Bradley yet. Yes, they had been talking to Giovinco. So when you start piecing all this together, it looks like chaos, and it looks like a team without a plan. And, yeah, your general manager left. I don't know what was going on before he left. You have a new GM come in. You want to cut spending. All those things are fine. You're not going to sign Sebastian Giovinco to the same deal he had before. Nobody's saying that. But to not have a plan, to not make this decision last summer, if you'd already decided, look, it's time to move on. We know he wants a new deal. We don't want to bring him back under any deal, which I don't think is true, by the way, because Bill Manning went on local radio yesterday morning and said they had offered him a lucrative, that's the quote, lucrative deal. So if they weren't interested in bringing him back, why'd they even put that on the table? I'm not buying that. But there's no plan here, because if you'd already decided, you know what, we don't want to bring him back. Let's assume that. You already said, you know what, we're going to give him a insulting offer. We don't care. We're not bringing him back. Last summer, and don't pull the coach speak quotes out and throw them at me. Last summer in the transfer window, you were dead in the water. You weren't making the playoffs. You could have made the decision to then regroup at that stage. Sell Giovinco, get more than $2 to $3 million, and then go into this window with the opportunity to add a designated player. Don't tell me it can't be done. Pity Martinez didn't show up here, just washing ashore. There was work done to make that happen. There was planning done. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Atlanta already had 3 designated players when they brought Pity Martinez in. You have to plan in this league. It's part of the deal. And I think too often you get clubs into this situation where they don't have a plan, they leave the business until late, and now Toronto's 3 weeks away from CONCACAF Champions League. Giovinco's gone. Altidore sounds unhappy. Vasquez is gone. Vanderveer is in exile. You're sitting on TAM. You're trying to add a designated player in the next week. Are you going to be ready to play in CONCACAF Champions League? Luckily, you got an easy draw, but still, you can plan better to deal with these types of situations. And this league has to start doing that. There's no excuse. I think Don Garber threw down the gauntlet last year when he said this needs to become a selling league. You have to justify these investments in teams, in rosters, in academies. To do that, you have to be willing to sell when the time is right. It looks like that era is upon us. Teams are going to sell because offers are now absolutely worthwhile. Atlanta holding out to get the right offer for Miguel is a big part of that. Vancouver selling Alphonso Davies for the numbers that are booked there, big part of that. The Bundesliga clubs coming in and spending the money that they're spending on young American talent, big part of that. I think the Christian Pulisic move is a big part of that, although it's not directly related to MLS. So now, welcome to the new world of people are going to want your players. You have to not throw your hands up and say, well, we're not ready for this. We didn't know. We don't have reinforcements lined up. We don't have a scouting department. No. It's
a you problem.
It's no good anymore. There's no excuses. This is a selling league because this is a league in demand. That's why it's a selling league. Pretty much every league in the world is a selling league. When the time is right, you have to make the deal. And you have to have the follow-up plan to replace the player. Toronto doesn't appear to have that with Giovinco. We'll see. Maybe they do. But, man, it's really late in the game. And I think they could have gotten more for Giovinco if they'd already made the decision to move on. If they hadn't made that decision, then they just bungled the whole thing, and they've ruined their reputation in the way they've treated Giovinco, who's a club legend. That's not good. You have a lot of people unhappy in Toronto right now. DC has a big opportunity that has presented itself to them. $10 million, if that's the number that comes in, I think you have to sell Luciano Acosta. They have a ready-made pathway. It's there for them. A little bit of lucky, but it's there for them. Yamil Asad has not played with Vélez Sarsfield since going back. You could easily reopen that. Now you've got money to work with. You can make it happen and bring him in and not have a drop-off and bring in a player who's familiar with the team in the league. That makes that move even easier if you're DC United, I think. Other teams are still trying to bring in big names right now, trying to make big deals at the moment. You have to do this business earlier in the window. When was Miguel Almirón announced for Atlanta United? December of 2016, before the window opened going into 2017. When was Ezequiel Barco announced? Draft day. And that deal did drag on a little bit on the Independiente side. When was the Pity Martinez deal done, according to Pity? December. Top clubs take care of business sooner so you can prepare for your season and not be in chaos. Sometimes you can't avoid chaos, and you have to know how to deal with it. When did Joseph Martinez come in? Beginning of February. When did Carlos Carmona come in 2017? Beginning of February. Because those opportunities presented themselves and you pounced on it. Last year, you had to sell Carlos Carmona. It was the right time to make the deal by all accounts. You didn't have bad things being said on the way out the door. Everybody was happy with the way things went down. And you went out. One, you'd already brought in Darlington Nagbe. You had cover. Then you went out, and in the next window, you added Eric Remedi. That's how you do business. There is zero excuse for Major League Soccer clubs not to do business in this way. It's just being organized. It's having a plan. It's hiring smart people, and it's letting them do their jobs. It's not about how much money they have. It's not about their budget. It's about people having a plan and executing it. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. And the excuses need to stop. It's time for MLS to grow up. According to the age of the league, it's an adult now. So, you're past. It's driving. It can drink legally.
You can drink. You can vote. You can drive.
So it's time to grow up. No more excuses about. We don't know how to do this. You better figure it out, or you're going to get lapped. That's where MLS is right now. It's a wild time. It's a fun time in this league, and we'll talk more about it after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life, young adults of unique determination and experience, an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, January 31st. Miguel Almiron is officially a member of Newcastle United. Sebastian Giovinco is officially no longer a member of Toronto FC and did not have much nice to say about the end of it from the club perspective. Had a lot of nice things to say about the fan base, not the club.
Yeah.
Luciano Acosta right now is still a member of DC United. We'll see how long that lasts. He is in Paris doing a medical that would work for any team that might want to sign him. There's another player who is not with their MLS club at the moment, Nuhu Tolo, left back for Seattle, who was mentioned in that Guardian article of the top 10 targets during this transfer window. He was having some kind of visa issue. He is in Cameroon. He's gotten the visa, but he's hanging out for an extra day in case a deal does come. There was some talk about transfer and or loans. He is hanging out, according to Jeff Baker of the Seattle Times, in case something gets done. So keep an eye on that one. Eric Gomez is reporting that Minnesota is in a bidding war with Tijuana over Deportivo Cali midfielder Kevin Balanta. He's a 21-year-old defensive midfielder breaking into the first team. Minnesota is going to sign every defensive midfielder they can find since they've ignored that.
All the defensive mids.
Hey, whatever works. I mean, you didn't have any, now you've got multiple, so have at it. He seems like a young player that could long-term be the Alonso replacement. If Alonso can give you 2 years, Balanta can spell him, even play next to him at times. Not bad. So they're bidding with... No. Let's not be too insulting to Minnesota. This is a smart move. Straight up. If you're signing Osvaldo Alonso, he's not going to play for 5 years. You have a little bit of cover, but this is your long-term replacement for Alonso. You bring him in to train with Alonso, spell him at times, maybe play with him at times when you want to be a little more defensive. That's forward thinking out of Minnesota. I know it's crazy, but it actually makes a lot of sense. We'll see if it works out. Portland, their search for a designated player forward might have hit a snag, according to Jeff Carlisle of ESPN. $7 million offer for Julian Quiñones has been rejected by Tigres with no counter offer. So it looks like they're going to have to move on. They might have to wait until the summer to add a designated player forward. Again, you wait till late in the window. You wait till late to take care of your business. Said business might not get taken care of. That's the problem. Some business that has been taken care of. Houston did sign Minor Figueroa, 35-year-old Honduran veteran. Played last 3 years for Dallas. They needed a veteran center back. A lot of youth there. If Figueroa's a spot starter, veteran presence on the back line, that's a good signing for Houston. And you probably didn't have to spend crazy money to do it. So pretty smart move for the Dynamo. We'll see how it pays off. LAFC signed another forward, Rodolfo Zelaya, El Salvador national team, borderline legend, 21 goals and 45 caps for El Salvador. He's 30 years old. It's been a wild story with him. He had a bad injury that cost him a full year. He really broke through in the Gold Cup of 2011 with El Salvador. A few years later, he was suspended for a year from international play due to an involvement in a match-fixing scandal with the national team. But by all accounts, he wasn't directly involved in that. I've seen people compare it to Shoeless Joe Jackson. And if you know the Black Sox scandal from the 1919 World Series where games were thrown, Shoeless Joe Jackson was punished allegedly, reportedly, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, basically he knew about it, didn't do anything about it, but you couldn't directly tie him into throwing the games because he performed well.
Correct.
That's kind of the comparison we've seen for Zelaya here. It was years ago. He's well past it. This is a good depth signing for LAFC, but, man, you've got Zelaya, you've got Christian Ramirez, you've got Diamante.
That's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of forwards.
Yes. All the
Diego
forwards.
Rossi
All the
playing out
forwards are
wide.
in
You
LA.
got
All the
Latif
D mids are in
Blessing.
Minnesota.
Yeah, you got Latif Blessing playing out wide. You got Vela playing behind him, or he can play out wide. Okay. Bob Bradley's going to have a fun formation to watch. Vancouver's made a couple of signings.
for Bradley.
Yeah. Well, no, it'd be 1-1-8 the other way.
1-1-8.
Vancouver's made some signings. Scott Sutter, right back, who had previously been with Orlando. That's a good pickup. I was surprised Orlando let him go. And they've added Hwang In-bum. He is a South Korean central midfielder. It's another really interesting story. He's in the second division in South Korea. One reason he is he decided to take care of his military requirements. I think he has to serve 2 years in South Korea. He decided to do that at a young age. He's 22 now. So instead of jumping for a deal and then being in the situation, the Tottenham player who was in this situation where they were worried he was going to have to leave, and go take care of military service. But because they won the Asian Games in 2018, they were now exempted from military service. In-bum was part of that squad. So he played, I think, with the police team in the second division in South Korea, was getting a lot of interest. Werder Bremen, Benfica were both interested. Looks like Vancouver committed a good size of money here to get him and beat these clubs out. 12 caps with the national team, scrappy guy. He's a great dribbler. He's either an 8 or a 10. I mean, in some ways, kind of sounds like a Miguel Almiron type of player, not quite as fast. We'll see how the adjustment goes coming from the Korean second division. I am not up on my South Korean second division level of play. I'm not there. I apologize. I will be the Danny Mills in this situation and say that I don't know anything about the level of play. The fact that he has 12 caps with the national team makes you think he's a quality player coming in. It is a little bit different style of play coming from Asia to MLS. We'll see what that looks like for him and how much they put on him when he first gets here. I'm very intrigued by this one. This seems like it could be a great deal, a bargain deal. Could be risky. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But, yes, I will put on my Danny Mills hat for that one.
This is the first time that Seattle has gone to the Far East that declares for Austria.
I think John just turned into a robot. Vancouver.
Okay, so this okay. And it's a done. Am I still a robot?
All right, Danny Mills just attacked John. We're going to give him a second to regroup. New England made a signing as well. Carlos Gil, the one that we've talked about for a little while from Deportivo La Coruña. He is officially part of the Revs. Brad Friedel described him as a number 10. I'm wondering if this means Diego Fagundes is either on the way out, as he kind of wanted to be there for a minute, or if he's going to play out wide. We'll have to see how this could look. One more, DC United signed Boca Juniors right back Leonardo Jara. We'll see how he fits into this group. 27 years old, spent the last 3 years at Boca after starting his career at Estudiantes. Luciano Acosta, who might be on the way out, helped in getting this deal done. So kind of chaos for DC, but they get a right back. And if you're not familiar with who he is, go back and watch the Pity Martinez clip of the nutmeg against Boca, and it's Jara, who's the player who got nutmegged and put his head up like, oh no, what did I just do? That's him. So we'll see if that continues on opening day. All right, let's take a quick break, reset. Maybe the robots will free John Nelson from their grasp. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
The hell.
Welcome back. John's mad at elevators.
Yes. Among other things.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, it's chaos. It's soccer down here. It's what we do on transfer deadline days. We'll have more at 4 o'clock. A little more of a focus on the European side of things, but we will be still doing our thing 4 to 6 with Nick Alifi, Soccer Over There crossover episode. Let's hit the Twitter timeline a little bit here. So Tofka TLC shared that Transfermarkt has the fee at $21.6 million. Definitely not specific. Newcastle doesn't put that number into Transfermarkt, so we don't know. That's another number that's out there now. So we've heard 20, we've heard 21 from Sky Sports. Now Transfermarkt is saying 21.6. I saw a 24 million pound number out there that I don't think was correct either. It's somewhere in there. It's somewhere between 20 and 24. It's undisclosed. We'll see if we get more reporting on it, but don't take any of those numbers for the gospel. It's the biggest transfer in MLS history. It is a huge transfer. It's the biggest transfer in Newcastle's history. It's a big deal. The exact number doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Okay. So we know Pity Martinez is going to wear number 10. No surprise there. We know this. Now, if you have not seen Ezequiel Barco's blonde hair, that's in the picture that's making the rounds as well. He has dyed his hair. So there you go. It's a new era for Ezequiel Barco. Dig it. Cool with this. When did I dye my hair blonde? I did it when I was in college. I think I was a little bit older than Barco
please
is.
tell me there are photos of this.
I don't think there are, and that's a good thing. I mean, it wasn't that
then
bad.
Why even bring it up? Because if there's no pick, it didn't happen.
No, it's all good. It worked pretty good. That was back when I had hair, so yeah, I made the most of it.
Were you more aerodynamically efficient when you had? Were you more of a scorer when you had blonde hair?
I did score a lot of goals with blonde hair. That's true in the local leagues.
See?
So I don't think the blonde hair had anything to do with it, and I'd be more aerodynamic with no hair than blonde hair. So neither one's, it is
more of a distraction with blonde hair, perhaps.
It wasn't that bad. Okay, so let's move on to some Twitter stuff. Garlic Bread Warlord Nick Alifi with the perfect quote from Warrior Poet Snoop Dogg: "The game is to be sold, not to be told. We follow through with our promises." That's what this move, selling Miguel Almiron for a big amount of money, that's what it is. Now, as Felipe said, as we've all said, in this next era of recruiting for Atlanta United, you can go to a player, to an agent, to a club, and say, look what we just did. We will do this for you. It's proven. There's no questions now on the side of it. Now, there will be questions about, okay, now how does Miguel perform? We'll have to wait and see. I think everything's in place for it to go well. You have to wait and see. You never know. That's the game. Nothing's guaranteed. But now to be able to go to that next young South American talent, you have a track record. Flat out. You have a big-time track record to point to now, and that's a big deal. That's a very big deal, and other MLS teams should be taking advantage of it too.
Should be.
Absolutely be riding on those coattails. Yeah, it should be, but I mean, it's. I'm not going to say that they're not. I'm not going to say that they aren't. I'm going to say that they should be, because that's where it is. There are some who are doing it and doing it well and finding their way of doing it. Not everybody has to do this like Atlanta United. Toronto doesn't have to spend crazy money on salaries like they did for these three guys. They won 3 trophies. I mean, it's not like they failed. They won 3 trophies. No. They were a penalty away from winning the CONCACAF Champions League. The way they handled it at the end is a big problem, and it makes you wonder if they kind of threw away the progress and the reputation that they had earned by winning 3 trophies. That's my big concern with it. But you want to cut those salaries down, and you don't want to re-sign 3 guys around 30 on the other side of 30 for the same kind of deals? Yeah, that's just smart business. You've got to figure out what's next. Is it going more along the lines of Atlanta United, getting younger, signing guys with resale value? Maybe. Is it going younger totally and developing your own talent internally? I don't think that's the right move for Toronto. I think it hurts them in their local market. In a Dallas, it works. In other clubs, it can work. Toronto has a different set of circumstances. The New York teams have a different set of circumstances. The LA teams have a different set of circumstances. I think Chicago has a different set of circumstances. They don't have to spend crazy money, but they have to spend intelligently, and they have to be relevant. That's the thing that I think Atlanta United's hit, John, is that Atlanta is relevant on the field from a competitive standpoint. They are relevant in the transfer market, both buying and selling now. They are relevant around the world. More MLS clubs need to be relevant in their way going forward.
And that's my point in all of this. When we're talking transfers, when we're talking transfer window, when we're talking investments in players of age and ability, do you, whatever that is, whatever that entails, be who you are and who you think you should be. Don't try to be like somebody else when it doesn't fit your personality, it doesn't fit your pocketbook. And that is my siren song in all of this. And I think that today reinforces it on another level. You're seeing what Atlanta United can do. You're seeing what DC United is courting. You're seeing what Toronto FC has done. Do you. Don't do somebody else if it doesn't fit what you are. And I think that will help out in the growth of the league and of the individual franchises going forward if you don't overextend yourself through one idea or another. That, to me, is the biggest lesson in all of this.
There's a report. Get French Football has a report about Acosta saying it's done. Trying to see where the report is coming from. It's coming from an outlet called Paris United. So take that with a big grain of salt. Don't know if that's true or not. But they're saying it's done. Paris United reported that Thomas Tuchel and his coaching staff are pleased that an attacking player is being brought in today, but they preferred a deal for Sevilla winger Pablo Sarabia instead of the now quasi-completed move for Luciano Acosta. Quasi-completed.
Sarabia's escape clause, I think, was $21 million, and that's why they balked.
Okay. Paris United is, they're reporting that PSG have concluded a total agreement to sign him, undergo a medical immediately, and the PSG specialized outlet understand that the deal will be made official today. All right, nothing really new there, so keep an eye on DC United, Luciano Acosta. A couple other bits of bigger picture news for MLS. 2019, with the Almiron deal, is already the best year for transfer revenue in league history. Last year, they've just barely beaten last year. 2 years ago, the league made $1.9 million in transfer revenue. That's it. 2 years ago. and now you're talking 45 plus. You add on another 10 for Acosta, if that's accurate. Yeah, this is big, and it's only January. You're not even getting into the summer window, which we'll see movement. 2020 season. The Tennessean had an article today, and we'll talk about the Nashville part of it in a second. One nugget in that article was that the 2020 season could start in mid or late February. This had been reported by a lot of the national writers with the playoff format change. You weren't able to do it this year because of last year ending when it did. You couldn't start any earlier than you did. Going forward, though, the thought was that it would start earlier. Now, how's that going to work for, a Minnesota, Montreal, Toronto to host games early on? I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to have a lot of games in the southern part of the league early on to be able to get them in. We'll see how that works out from a schedule balance standpoint, but you're going to see an earlier start to the MLS season in 2020. Nashville will be part of that, and that has been officially confirmed according to CEO Ian Ayre. He said, we've always been working to that date, and at the recent league meetings, that was confirmed. I don't think it was a surprise. It was just a bit of sequencing. It doesn't change anything for us. We're very happy to be starting then. And they will start in 2020 at Nissan Stadium. Their new stadium at the Nashville Fairgrounds should be ready for the 2021 season. So Nashville's official. Miami's added Jason Christ to their technical staff. He's not going to be the first-team manager. He could be on the first-team coaching staff. A lot of speculation, and Paul Tenorio, I think, had this first, that he could be the manager of their USL team that could be playing in Fort Lauderdale at the Lockhart Stadium complex. I think it's a good addition right now because he's going to help them prepare. He knows the league. He's going to help them prepare for expansion drafts, for scouting players within the league. He's free. You have a need.
Yep.
He might fill a different role this time next year, but right now, that's a good piece to add to your team and start building. Makes a lot of sense.
Can I get an air horn?
Sure, you can get an air horn. There's your set of air horn.
Bayern Munich have confirmed the signing of American youngster Taylor Booth. The 17-year-old joins the Bavarian Giants, according to OneFootball, on a 3.5-year deal from Real Salt Lake and will go into Bayern's U19 side.
Bayern Munich buying more young players from the United States. Interesting. We see a lot of potential in Taylor. He's a talented young player, and we look forward to working with him to develop his talent further. That is Bayern campus manager Jochen Sauer. He's part of the U19 U.S. national team. He played at the U17 World Cup in India in 2017. Let's see. Booth said, I'm very happy with this next step in my career. FC Bayern is one of the largest clubs in the world. Being here in Munich and at the FC Bayern campus and taking the next steps in my development makes me very proud. They added Alphonso Davies. They've added Chris Richards from FC Dallas. Now they're adding Taylor Booth, another young North American-produced player.
So this has been a fun day so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's nowhere near done. So buckle up. One more on the expansion teams coming in. Austin president Andy Loughnane confirmed that Austin FC will launch their academy in 2019, very early. They're going to hit the field in 2021. They had a lot of community benefits that they need to start hitting as part of the stadium deal, and they're going to go ahead and get that process started in terms of, I think, scholarships and camps and clinics, and the academy is part of that to some degree, and they're saying they're going to launch it in 2019. That would be the earliest start for an academy in MLS history. Great move by Austin.
And Austin Bold signing players from the Georgia Revolution history, if memory serves.
Yes, they have added a player who played with the Revolution last year, actually started in the ADASL with the Revolution, and then joined the NPSL team. Clayton Adams. He participated in an open tryout in Iowa And he ends up going from open tryouts with the Revolution to the ADASL team to the NPSL team to Austin Bold. Pretty cool story. There's players out there, guys. There's players out there who get lost in the shuffle all the time, and you hear these types of stories. It's great. That's why USL Championship, USL League One are very, very important in getting more professional soccer players in this country. And you're going to see more stories like a Clayton Adams. It's very cool. Let's take a break to reset everything and finish up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment. Soccer Down Here. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with the Soccer Over There Transfer Special Extravaganza crossover episode at 4 o'clock as we wrap up the European transfer window. Maybe talk some Mexican transfer window as well. That closes tonight. There's some others that are open, so there still will be business. MLS teams can add players up through May, so it's still going to be things happening. I've never understood why people don't get that there is a major difference in getting deals done before the European window and after. European clubs are not going to be willing to sell important players after the window closes because they can't go get a replacement. And we talked about that with MLS clubs needing to have that plan. European clubs do. You know, if they're going to make a sale, they're going to go and get a replacement. They're going to go and reinvest. They're going to trust their scouting department to go find the best player. They're not going to make a major sale of a player after the window's closed. The only way that happens is if that player is not important, is not involved, has nothing to do with the squad. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was in that situation last year. He was on the outs at Manchester United. He had no plans to stay. Club didn't want him, and they let him go to the LA Galaxy. That's rare. So this is a little bit different time. You're going to have some clubs in MLS who are trying to do business, and there's not going to be a big market for them to do business in, at least from Europe. They're going to have to look to South America and find those deals and hope those scouting departments are ready to go. We talked about the official number for Miguel Almiron, and Tafka and Thomas Jawin are definitely riled up because they want the exact numbers. Well, all I'm saying, guys, is that you're never going to get those. I'm trying to save you a little bit of stress because I don't think they're ever truly going to be published. And this is normal around the world. Clubs just don't want to share those official numbers. You're going to get lots of reporting. The issue here is that the range is very wide. 24. I saw that one, and I don't put any stock in that at 24 million pounds. That's $31 million. Unless that is including every possible incentive that's there.
Escalators, elevators.
Yeah, and we don't know if they're there.
Positioning.
So no clue. That one doesn't feel right to me. I think it's in the 20 to 21 range. Somewhere in that ballpark. Who knows? It's a big deal. That's all we know.
27, yeah.
That's all we know at this point. So I don't know. And I wonder where Transfermarkt Tafka came up with 21.6 because I haven't seen that anywhere. So I don't know why the 0.6 emerged. Who knows? Maybe they do have an inside source. No clue. Let's see. What else do we have on the docket right now? Sam Williamson asked if we signed Big Bro Pogba today. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's possible. ESPN FC reported that it was imminent. They've been wrong before. I don't know. We haven't seen anything beyond that. What's that?
Spring is imminent as well.
Yes. I mean, but that actually is imminent. We know that's going to happen at some point. We don't know if this deal is going to happen at some point. It might.
Yeah.
We don't know. We'll have to see. It's interesting. It's a very interesting time. Sorry, Thomas. I know you want the numbers, but I cannot help you. I have nothing to do to help you. I will just try to keep you from having your heart broken, wanting the numbers and not getting them. That's all I'm trying to do. That's all I have.
So let's see.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, are we teasing 4 o'clock again?
We just did about 2 minutes ago.
No? Okay, so we're going to be here. 4 o'clock. 4 to 6. Last 2 hours of the transfer deadline in England. And cast of 10s will be on the show.
The Montreal Impact have acquired an international roster spot. I know that gets people excited. No. They acquired international roster spot for $175,000 in GAM. That's a lot.
They got somebody in mind.
Well, maybe they just needed it. I don't know their roster spot situation as of yet, but $175,000 in GAM for an international slot. That's a little high. That's on the high end of the scale. They get it from Columbus. Columbus might have driven a hard bargain with the Montreal Impact. Not sure. Okay. Update from Thomas Jawin with a winky face. Newcastle United are believed to have paid $16 million up front for Miguel Almiron, and the deal could rise to £21 million, which would eventually break the record. If the clubs stay up, there's understood to be a payment due. This is all from Lee Ryder at the Chronicle. So,
okay.
Shrugging emoji, maybe, possibly, I don't know. We'll see. But that is some updated details. I think that makes more sense. Well, I don't know.
In the past,
16 is where the number was first. 16 is where the original Newcastle offer was. And if they went up the 5, and that was something that they said initially they weren't going to do, if it is more incentive-based, that's one way to get there. I think they stay up, so that helps. Yeah. That helps in terms of the overall deal.
Yeah, traditionally when teams have been relegated, there have been sell-offs regardless of how long the particular athlete
that's not. But that's different. That's not going to affect what they're going to pay Atlanta United here. The sell-off is a club who's not going to make it the next year and says, I need to make some money, and these players don't want to play in the championship. It has nothing to do with a transfer coming in. If there's a sell-on clause in the transfer, then Atlanta United could make more money from that way. But yeah, sell-off is just, we got relegated. We got to sell some players to balance the books.
Yep.
In the article, that's pretty much what we just said. United are believed to have paid $16 million up front for Almiron. Deal could rise to £21 million, which would eventually break the club record. If the clubs stay up, there's understood to be a payment due. That is from Lee Ryder's article in the Chronicle. Thank you, Thomas Jawin, for your update. You are finding these numbers as close as we possibly can. Good work.
Yes.
Colonel,
intrepid reporting this morning.
The Colonel has not been listening to some of my rants. He said, if we could get Longshoe as fired up about MLS clubs building tiny stadiums as he is about how they conduct business, we would be making real progress. Do they not think soccer will make it in America? Man, I've been right there with you, Colonel, because 20,000 is not good enough anymore. I think the bottom line should be 30. The bottom line should be 30. And I think you should have a plan to expand it, and I think you should also explore the possibility of doing what San Jose has done, where they have big games in a bigger stadium. They do the Cali Clasico at Santa Clara, where the 49ers play, at Levi's.
Yeah, Levi's.
They've played it there. They've played it at Stanford. Do that. If you don't have a situation like Mercedes-Benz Stadium, do that. Say, you know what? This is a big game. We're playing it over here, and we're going to draw 50, 60,000 fans. I'm with you, Colonel, and I've said it before. I'll continue to say it. I think 30,000 should be the baseline. Teams building 20,000-seat stadiums are putting a not even artificial cap. They are putting a real, true cap on the interest their club can get in their market. Because if you are a major media outlet in a big market and you have a team that is asking for coverage that is drawing, 15,000 in a 20,000-seat stadium, you're not going to get as much attention. You're going to have to fight for it. You're going to have to really fight for it. If you're drawing 50,000 fans for big events, if you're doing what Atlanta United's doing, you can't ignore it. It's impossible to do it. So I'm with you, Colonel, and it's something that we will definitely continue to talk about. One city, before we go, that could be part of this is Charlotte, and they could be following the Atlanta model. Charlotte, and thanks to Jameson Christie for the reminder, Charlotte will be conducting focus groups here very soon about the possibility of bringing Major League Soccer to Charlotte. This is all from the Panthers and David Tepper. I think their grand plan, and I think he's been a little careful to put this out there. I think their grand plan is to get a new stadium built that is going to be built along the lines of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that is multi-purpose,
Agreed.
Soccer in mind from day one, and bring MLS in a big way. I think they are the ones outside of Detroit who are coming in saying, we want to do what Atlanta did, straight up from a stadium perspective. I love it. I think it's good.
I agree, and I will see you at 4 o'clock.
John is out. I am out. We will be back at 4 for the next round of Transfer Saga Extravaganza crossover episode of Soccer Over There. Talk to you guys then. Much plot, y'all.
Much plot, y'all.